Hey everyone, and welcome to this A-Level Masterclass Explainer. Today we are taking a really deep dive into AQA Topic 3.2.3, Managing Business Culture. Now, the specification actually recommends around 6 hours of teaching time for this module, but we are going to distill all of that down into a highly focused, highly analytical session right now. I'm going to guide you through exactly how organizational culture basically dictates a business's success. We'll be looking really closely at how shared values shape literally everything, from daily routine behaviors all the way to long-term commercial competitiveness.
Here is our syllabus for today. First, we'll cover the foundation of culture. 2. Influences on business culture. 3. The impact of culture. 4. Managing cultural change. And finally, culture and competitiveness. We've got a lot of ground to cover, so let's get right to it.
Okay, let's dive into this. Section 1. The foundation of culture.
Before we can even start to analyze or evaluate culture, we absolutely must define it with precision. To really lock down those AO1 knowledge marks in your exams, you've got to use the exact terminology. Business culture refers to the shared values, beliefs, and behaviors that really characterize the working environment and the social interactions within an organization. Now, underlying all of this are business values. These are the guiding principles and beliefs that shape the ethical and moral behavior of a business, which directly influences its daily decisions. Think of it like this: values are the DNA, and culture is the living, breathing organism that actually grows from it.
Moving right along to Section 2, Influences on Business Culture.
So now that we know what culture actually is, we're shifting gears into AO2 territory, analyzing the specific factors that dictate an organization's culture. And leadership is, without a doubt, arguably the most potent influence here. Historically, you might have studied paternalistic or maybe laissez-faire styles, but the updated specification explicitly highlights transformational leadership as a massive driver of modern, agile businesses. Think about it. While autocratic leadership, where decisions are heavily centralized, creates a super rigid, compliance-based culture, transformational leadership does the exact opposite. It inspires employees to achieve way beyond their own self-interests, focusing on long-term goals and organizational development. That is what fosters a real culture of innovation.
But hey, leadership doesn't just operate in a vacuum, right? A truly strong culture requires alignment across multiple, interconnected factors. The mission statement provides the fundamental purpose. The organizational structure, whether that's a really tall hierarchy or a super flat, agile setup, dictates exactly how communication flows. Then you have reward systems, like performance-related pay or share ownership, which basically signal to employees exactly which behaviors are valued. And of course, external customer expectations are continually putting pressure on that internal culture to adapt.
Now, what's really interesting about this is how it plays out in the real world. This quote perfectly captures the essence of the culture at Netflix, which is a key case study in your syllabus. Netflix operates with a very flat structure and a highly transformational leadership. They heavily empower their employees, who, by the way, are expected to be high performers with immense freedom, but they demand extreme responsibility in return. By designating an informed captain of the ship for decisions, they demonstrate a culture defined by high delegation, deep trust, and incredibly rapid, decentralized problem-solving.
All right, it is time to test your application skills. Pause the explainer now and complete Task 2. You need to propose a cultural strategy for Farmore Cycles. As they navigate this major transition from a worker cooperative to a private limited company, how exactly can they preserve their core value of caring for others? I want you to write down your strategy and justify how they can maintain this ethos during such a massive structural shift.
Okay, let's look at Section 3, the impact of culture.
We know what culture is, and we know what influences it. Now we have to ask the big question, so what? What is the tangible commercial impact of a strong business culture? Well, in the exam, your analysis must be step by step. Just look at this logical chain, modeled right on the Netflix case study we just talked about. Step 1, a culture of empowered employees is established. Step 2, this leads directly to faster, decentralized decision-making. Step 3, consequently, the business can respond way more quickly to market challenges or jump on new opportunities. And finally, Step 4, ultimately, this enhances competitiveness because their service is constantly staying ahead of rivals. You absolutely must connect the internal cultural trait directly to a measurable commercial outcome.
Let's put this step-by-step logic into practice. Pause the explainer now and complete Task 1. I want you to build your own chain of reasoning. Use the fast fashion brand Shein as your context here. Think about how a strong culture of teamwork and quality control links back to theories like Hertzberg's job enrichment or Maslow's sense of belonging. Show me exactly how highly engaged employees in a lean production system drive down operational waste and ultimately reduce unit costs. Go ahead and map that out.
Which brings us to Section 4, Managing Cultural Change.
Understanding culture is one thing, but actually trying to change it, that is notoriously one of the hardest tasks a management team will ever face. As the Unit 3.2 specification explicitly highlights, people management is of growing importance. You simply cannot change a business culture without navigating incredibly complex human emotions and resistance. Culture isn't a machine you can just reprogram overnight. It resides deeply in the minds and the daily habits of the workforce. So the crucial point here is that resistance is inevitable. When you are evaluating cultural change in your exams, you really should reference Cotter and Schlesinger's 4 reasons for resistance. Furthermore, think about the paradox of a strong culture. If an organization like Netflix has a deeply entrenched way of doing things, that massive strength actually becomes a massive liability if the market suddenly shifts and they require a totally new approach. A rigid organizational structure, or honestly just a simple lack of employee buy-in, can entirely derail even the most well-intentioned digital or strategic transformation.
Finally, let's wrap up with Section 5, Culture and Competitiveness.
And this brilliantly illustrates the core thesis of this entire topic. Think about it. Competitors can absolutely copy your product, they can copy your pricing strategy, and they can for sure copy your marketing. But they cannot easily copy your culture. A distinctive culture aligns perfectly with Hackman's model of team effectiveness. It creates compelling direction and team cohesion that naturally results in high-quality, innovative output. This ultimately shapes customer perception and brand loyalty, which at the end of the day is the very definition of a sustainable competitive advantage.
All right, it's time for your final AO4 evaluation task. Pause the explainer now and complete Task 3. You need to make a justified judgment. Weigh up these 2 vital factors, leadership style versus formal organizational structure. Which one is the more critical determinant of culture? To secure those top marks, make sure you really qualify your judgment. Perhaps it depends on the size of the business, or maybe on how well the culture actually supports necessary competitive behaviors. Take your time and write down your final evaluation.
I really hope those tasks have sharpened your analytical and evaluative skills today. To conclude our masterclass, I want to leave you with a pretty provocative thought to ponder. If business culture is truly the ultimate source of competitive advantage, precisely because it is this organic, complex web of shared human beliefs, well, can senior management ever truly control it? Or does the culture of a business ultimately belong to its employees? Keep that in mind as you continue exploring your A-level business theories. Thank you so much for joining me, and keep up the rigorous study.